As we prepare for our own Thanksgiving and holiday gatherings, many will think also of those less fortunate, making donations to local churches and charities in this season of giving. But sadly, we know hunger is a year-round problem for many in our region. Connecting Point correspondent Carolee McGrath spoke with Tobin, Director of Development and Marketing for the Food Bank of Western Massachusetts, to learn more about the enormous need that organization works to meet every day of the year.
We are in the business of feeding people year-round. So while people think of us at the holiday season, or particularly when the thermometer drops, the need, the hunger that's in our community is actually a 365-day-a-year problem. So we work very hard to make sure that we can supply local pantries and food meal programs with the foods and goods they need throughout the year.
And how does it work? Where do you get your food, and then who is it then distributed to?
So if you think of the food bank as the clearinghouse, we have the capacity to collect food from major producers, major manufacturers, and retail places. We have the storage to handle it, and then we have the distribution opportunity for our member agencies. So local pantries and meal programs in the four communities, the four counties of Western Massachusetts, are what we call, they become member agencies of ours. We collect, store, and transport the food for them. And then as they need the food and as they can handle a supply, we pass it along to them.
And then what about your funding? Tell me about your funding.
So it's, it's mostly private fundraising that supports us. There is a cost, of course, to being able to have the capacity to manage that much food. We have a warehouse in Hatfield. It's quite an operation. We run very slim, but we do a really efficient job with that. So we do have to fundraise for our existence. We are also the distributor of federal and state food programs. So we also are able to pass that along. About half of the free food we supply to local pantries and food programs come from either the federal or state government, and then we go after other free food to make that available.
And you work with the local farmers as well? Tell me about that.
We do. We have a real push in the food banking world to provide nutritious, healthy food, not just any food. We want our communities to be healthy communities. And so we've worked really hard. The food bank has our own farm, and we work very closely with local farmers throughout the four counties, trying to provide fresh produce. We help them and the local economy by doing that, but it really helps the families that we serve. When you consider that 27% of our clients who receive the food are young children, and then another 12% are elders, we know that fresh fruits and vegetables are crucial to their diet. And so we've worked really hard to increase the availability of that.
And talk about the need. I was surprised to read on your website how many people are in need in Western Massachusetts.
You know, like you, Carolee, I have raised a large family. And so I think of, my grocery bill and my grocery needs.
It's off the charts.
But when you consider that we just closed our fiscal year, so I can tell you that we were just shy of distributing 10 million pounds of food.
Wow.
Can't even get my head around that. But what that means is over 8 million meals to people in our community. And so 235,000 of our neighbors in need right here in Western Massachusetts received food so that they didn't go hungry here in Western Massachusetts.
And when you're talking about those in need, you're talking about people who are working and who are in very difficult spots in terms of the amount of money coming in and what they can decide what they're going to pay for. Can you explain that?
I mentioned, the children and the elders. And so for elders, sometimes the very hard decision they face is, do they pick up their medicine that they need, or do they put food on the table? So we have a special program called the Brown Bag Program for Elders that we help distribute bags of groceries monthly through senior centers and agencies where elders gather, and that helps supplement them. But astonishingly, 31% of the people we serve have at least one person in the family working, and yet they still can't make ends meet. So that's the decision between paying your rent, which we know if you don't leads to homelessness. It's the decision between medicines or really tough, very practical choices that families are making in order to feed themselves.
And do you have any personal stories that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, that's why I do what I do for a living, because I love people and I've been blessed with a career that allows me to work with them. I'll always remember one young woman particularly, probably because she was the age that some of my children were, and I expect finicky eaters at that age, but I remember I was helping with a food service, And she came up and she said, you know, what's for dinner? And I told her it was meatloaf, and she burst into tears. And being the enabling mother that I am, I said, you know, I'll get you something else, you know, I'll get you peanut butter and jelly. And she said, no, 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 meatloaf is my favorite meal, and I've had a really terrible day, and this is going to get me through till tomorrow. So I always say that when we provide food for people in need, we don't just feed their bellies, we also feed their soul.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important, to be able to help people face another day and be able to try again.
And how can people help?
Well, what we always say is cash is preferable because in the way that the food bank works, we really can build on capacity. $1 donation to the food bank equals 3 meals. Now, I can't, even with coupons, pull that economic off in my own home, but that's the buying power of the food bank. That's how efficient we are. So that's why cash is most helpful to us. But honestly, if you have food that you can donate to your local pantry or food program, we're all part of the same emergency food network. Our member agencies are the people on the front line. We couldn't do it without them. If everyone just gives a little bit, it goes a long way. So you can certainly go to our website, foodbankwma.org, and make a contribution. So many of our neighbors will be helped.
Kathy, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.